Hey, how's it going? Little different here. We're doing the wall now. We decided to leave the chair. We're at the wall. Change it up a little bit. The space between the doors, the wall. Yeah. And we're here today to talk about dad rock. I figured it was appropriate to dress like my dad. Got the denim shorts and the ugly Hawaiian shirt. But yeah, dad rock. It's that era of rock everyone claims they hate because it's generic, formulaic, and it all just sounds the same. Yet we all scream it at the top of our lungs when we're alone in the car. And I kind of want to go over a little bit of the history of it, breaking some of it down, because I unironically like dad rock, and I'm tired of pretending it's not good. So if that sounds like fun, stick around and watch. And put an F in the chat for my Spotify because it's been absolutely destroyed by making this video. So I guess the first question to ask is, well, what is dad rock? Or butt rock, as some people call it. The terms are interchangeable, so if I say dad rock, I also mean butt rock and vice versa. And the best way I can put it is, go find a radio. Your car has one if you can't find one, and find your local rock radio station. At some point, they're going to say something like 95.5 KLAQ. We play the best rock and nothing but rock. Yeah, that little bit there at the end, the butt rock, that's where the name comes from. I know, crazy. I also haven't willingly listened to the radio in years, but back in the day, these stations would play, those post-grunge bands like Shinedown, Papa Roach, Daughtry, and everyone's favorite, Nickelback. There's going to be a lot of Nickelback here today. But there's more to it. It's not all just butt rock. We're going to break it down into 4 groups. This is not 100% accurate. It's not going to cover every single band, but it's a pretty good representation. So you got dad rock itself, right? And then you get your post-corn douchebag new metal. You have fringe. Then you have military spouse who demands the respect of her husband's rank rock. This is going to be like one of those like political compass maps. Where do you fall in the butt rock political compass? So starting off first and foremost, we have dad rock. And it's probably the largest and broadest of all this because, well, it's most of them. It's kind of the key thing. Some of the bands that fit into what I call the dad rock vibe are Creed, Seether, Papa Roach, Three Doors Down, and Nickelback. Now, musically, most of these bands sound the same, and that's kind of the appeal to them. It's comfortable, it's familiar, it's easy to digest, and, well, that's the appeal. What differentiates all of them are the lyrics. Now, dad rock typically talks about things like love, specifically how a woman makes a man better and elevates him from the dark of the world. Heartbreak, or how said woman, lifted him from the dark of the world, but left because he couldn't permanently leave it. Fatherhood, personal introspection and reflection, overcoming personal demons, and addiction. There's a lot about addiction. Which most, if not all these things, the dudes in the crowds can relate to. Fellas, you feel me? I guess the good place to start is everyone's favorite Higher by Creed, which can be interpreted as, well, how I describe the love songs. He's reaching out to his partner and asking if they can lift him from the darkness and into a place of spiritual and internal peace. But this song can also be interpreted as reaching out and finding salvation through God and not a lover. I don't know how religious Creed is, but I got love song out of this. When I'm Gone by Three Doors Down is a song about confiding in a lover, that there are demons and there are mental health problems. There is doubt and fear that are difficult or impossible to talk about, and I think that's shown best in the verses with lines like, "There's another world inside of me that you will never see. There's secrets in this life that I can't hide. But somewhere in this darkness, there's a light that I can't find. And when your education x-ray cannot see under my skin, I won't tell you a damn thing that I could not tell my friends." Lyrical masterminds, that's what Three Doors Down is. And obviously, the singer is asking his partner to help deal with these things and telling them to keep that love going, because even when they can't be together in person and can't confide in them, literally, knowing the love is there is helping them through it, and that's shown in the chorus. Hold me when I'm here, love me when I'm gone, hold me when I'm scared, you won't always be there. Fellas, also, before I go any further with this, just remember, it's not her job to fix you. but help you fix yourself. She can help you fix yourself, but you got to put in the legwork. And ladies, don't run away or put him down because he expresses his emotions. It's hard enough to do. Don't make it harder on him. And honestly, because with adding on to that, I think the reason why it's so hard to find just like an actual, honest, genuine love song with a lot of this music is because it is hard for men to show and express feelings of love and put words to how they feel in the moment when it's good. But there's also a reason why it's called divorce dad rock, because most of it isn't love, it's heartbreak. It's a lot of heartbreak. How Do You Remind Me by Nickelback. See, it was not going to take us long to get to Nickelback. Talks about how this woman reminded Chad who he is without alcohol, but as the relationship progressed, she fell deeper in love and he fell deeper out of love. And so because of this, the relationship ends. And despite really never doing it before, she blames herself and apologizes for not being enough. But deep down, Chad knows it's his fault. He was a problem and blames himself for not being enough and his regret for it. This song, he's talking about his own regret for it. Cold by Crossfade is literally about how the singer has acknowledged he does the thing guys do. He's walling off his emotions, not talking about his issues. And he's being cold to his lover and apologizing for how he's been and begging her to take him back. Call Me by Shinedown is about divorce. All right? It's, the singer doesn't want it, but despite everything in which he may have said or, taken from him, he still loves her because he's a good dude. And he's willing to leave despite not wanting to, and has processed it all and acknowledges his faults, but knows that he can't change. So despite loving her and wanting to fix things and wanting to be there and being well aware of all the good she's done for him, he still leaves. Whether it be as a form of repayment for what she's done for him, or because he puts her wants and needs over his own and accepts the choices he doesn't want, because in the end, it's best for her. And on the inverse, you have Forever by Papa Roach, which is also about divorce and alcoholism. And moving on from both, the chorus itself is because days come and go, but my feelings for you last forever. Those feelings will never leave. It's normal for them to stay. But ultimately, you got to move on, bud. All right? The girl you saw in the Wendy's parking lot that, kind of winked at you, she's not coming back, all right? She gotta cut her loose. On a less negative note, this music also talks about good things, like fatherhood, with the best example being With Arms Wide Open by Creed. Which is about a firstborn child, specifically a son, being born and the emotions coming from that. It's the excitement and joy of welcoming this little boy into the world and showing him the beauty of it all. And then the fear creeps in. It's the fear of not being good enough, not being able to be a good, loving husband and father. And most importantly, fear of failing his son. And this is shown in the last verse. If I had just one wish, only one demand. I hope he's not like me. He understands that he can take this life and hold it by the hand, and he can greet the world with arms wide open. Now, I don't know if I've really talked about it in depth here or not. I don't think I have, but there's an idea in psychology, sociology, philosophy, take your pick. I'm not really sure which one it would fall into. But there's this idea that from a very early age, boys in our society are put into the box. Now, there's several different terms for it. Some people call it patriarchy, other people call it tradition, customs, culture. I call it the box. Okay? And in this box is where we learn to be stoic. It's where we learn that, men are expected to act a certain way. We're not supposed to have emotions. We have to be providers and capable of extreme violence when necessary, and not explore our wants and desires, but instead just be what society needs us to be at the time. And typically, boys are put into this box by their father, whether intentionally or unintentionally. If it's not the father, it's typically the strong patriarchal male in their life. Hell, sometimes it's even the mother. But regardless, men are put in the box. And it's part of the reason why we're all so miserable. And the singer, he knows this. He was put into the box, and he fears he's going to do the same to his son. Hence the line, I hope he's not like me. He wants his son to know that he doesn't have to conform to society, but instead be who he is and be what he wants and have a happier life. And to me, that's where the title of the song comes in. He's going to accept his son with arms wide open. He's going to do the best to keep his son out of the box and instead let him embrace the world in life and see the beauty of it all when you're not restrained. And with Talk of the Box, there's a lot of music in this genre about breaking out of the box, self-reflection and becoming a better person. A lot of it coincides with addiction, but not all of it. Some good examples of this are My Sacrifice by Creed, which talks about reconnecting with an old friend that was lost and thanking them for everything and the start of rebuilding that relationship and reaching the height that they had gained together. 45 and Second Chance by Shinedown are both about the box. 45 is a bit more depressing take on it. It talks about how everything has just become so overwhelming and overbearing and suffocating that it seems the only option to get out of it is to just end it all. Whereas Second Chance is a bit more positive. It talks about how sometimes in order to escape the box, we kind of have to leave loved ones behind. And, despite the pain of it, sometimes it is better to, move on, leave them and move on to begin anew. Photograph by Nickelback. Look at this photograph. Talks about reflecting on youth, old friends, the wildness of it all, and while it's missed and looked back on fondly, it's time to accept that that part of your life is over and move on, because you can't just keep reliving the past. So Far Away and It's Been a While by Stained are both about becoming a better person. The pleasure of looking back at who you were, 6 months to a year ago, seeing who you are now, and just kind of like that internal pride of knowing that you're a better person now. In fact, most of Stained's early music is about becoming a better person and addiction. You also have Seether. Just about all their songs are about addiction, relapsing, and recovery. Not all of it, but a lot, especially a lot of their big hits. And this was a common thing talked about in dad rock from the early or late 90s. Most of these bands are considered post-grunge. It got pretty big after Kurt Cobain's death. And I don't want to give Kurt all of the credit because these guys had the strength. They kept kind of talking about these issues and kept the environment going, but Kurt and the environment Nirvana fostered, one of equality, individualism, it's kind of pro-feminist, pro-LGBT. It definitely got the ball rolling on the idea that it's okay for men to talk about these issues. So the question is, what happened? It's just one of those days. Post-corn nu metal douchebags. That's what happened. Specifically Limp Bizkit. Fred Durst became one of the biggest names in music, and he just kind of took everything that post-grunge bands and Nirvana, they just kind of built. He said they were kind of at the forefront of tearing all that down and saying, nah, man, don't have emotions, just get mad and break some shit. And a lot of the bands that followed the Limp Bizkit formula also did that. It also didn't help. This little side note. I was doing some research, and a lot of the people that met these guys said they were all self-obsessed assholes. And that was kind of like a normal thing. That was a constant. And that really doesn't surprise me. Fred Durst made a career out of being the messiah to frosted tip frat guys and 22-year-old dudes that work at gas stations, still live with mom, never left home, and have really no aspirations but think they're cool because they drive a 2003 Chevy Tahoe with 250,000 miles on it, and they're dating a 16-year-old. So that's really not, the kind of people you want to be hanging out with. Trapped, I don't know where to put Trapped in this, but I just want to talk about them. Mostly about how they're a one-hit wonder who only maintained relevance because their singer became a lolcow after picking fights with random people on Twitter. That was before they got banned. It's me. I'm someone they got into a fight with on Twitter. Not only that, but most of the music of this wave was just not good. It was just really weird combination of rap and rock. An idea that you'd think on paper would work, and it does when it's done well. See Linkin Park. But most of it just wasn't. Really, yeah, I would say Linkin Park, System of a Down, and Slipknot are the only bands from this wave that was, that were good to listen to. And I know Slipknot and System of a Down aren't really kind of nu metal, but they are in that heavier, violent side of things that nu metal was. So it's going to put them there. Cringe. A lot of butt rock bands are cringe, but good cringe. And it can be realistically split into two categories, and funnily enough, they both relate to videos. One being music videos over units deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. This typically consists of Rooster by Alice in Chains, but only Rooster by Alice in Chains, nothing else by them. Godsmack, specifically Voodoo and I Stand Alone, Click Click Boom by Saliva, Youth of the Nation by POD for whatever reason, and ironically enough, because, it's videos about war, Rage Against the Machine. Now, for context, during the height of the war, dudes would, they record stuff, they bring cameras and everything, and they would compile this 240p indecipherable shaky footage from their deployment to Iraq in 2004, or, Tooth for Ramadi hype video, or a, compilation of 19 banging and sanging back in 2008. And they would get like the, angry, borderline violent side of dad rock, at least, the ones that were actually kind of good, and it'd be slapped over these videos. And it really kind of found its place there and still reigns king in this like environment. Well, I mean, at least within like combat arms military communities, because one, Rooster is the unofficial anthem of machine gunners. If you ever meet a machine gunner, they will feel almost compelled, like it's almost on a subconscious level that they have to tell you that Rooster is about a machine gunner in Vietnam anytime they hear it. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that every single song I listed, and band, I've heard at least once in one of these videos that I saw at a schoolhouse, because my instructors wanted to show me how cool they are. And I would be shocked to find out that these videos are no longer being shown. In fact, some of my coworkers are in the reserves, and they say they are still being shown. And they're still being made today. I don't know really what kind of music people normally make with them. Here's a section from my unit's deployment and workup hype video. It's set to the theme song of The Office, so you could say that we were built a little differently. And on the other side of cringe, you have music found in old YouTube AMVs. If you didn't know, way back in the day when YouTube like first started becoming a thing, anime music videos, or AMVs, were really popular, and they were some of the cringiest of cringe music was put on them. I'm talking, you had Skillet, 3 Days Grace, Chevelle, Breaking Benjamin, Linkin Park. I mean, you don't know cringe until you see Naruto v Sasuke AMV, parentheses, Bodies by Drowning Pool, or Bleach, Down with the Sickness, HD. Or what was my personally favorite when I was younger, Demon Inuyasha AMV, The Animal I Have Become, 3daysgrace.wmv. The grip these videos had on that weird kid in your math class and the weebs that decided to study the blade while you were out getting girls was immeasurable. And it's still highly held today, like somehow, because all you have to do is type in your favorite anime AMV and you'll get a rabbit hole of cringe that's still being made today. It's granted, the music's updated, it's no longer dad rock cringe, but the video itself, the art has not gone anywhere. And all the music they put in it was just bottom of the barrel dad rock. It is the, like, unironically, like, I have a demon in me and you don't want to mess with me, tough guy, because you're going to let it out and you're going to need everyone to stop me. And that's the kind of music that, like, they put in this stuff for whatever reason. And I just hope everyone else who was this kid in middle school that watched these and unironically thought they were the guy with they had that dog and they were the demon and like they were going to mess everyone up. You got out of that, all right? Because you were able to escape it. Because guys, we were cringe, okay? We were cringe. We should not have been doing that. I also wasn't sure Linkin Park should be put here because, like I said, they are very much new metal, and a lot of their early music relates to the idea of the box I mentioned earlier, and they really fit into the dad rock vibe because of that. And again, they were mixing rap and rock. They are, by all definitions, new metal according to the textbook of what that genre is, but they didn't really fit new metal douchebags, so they're cringe because Linkin Park is really good, but they were also really popular with AMVs. Don't be mad at me because anime kids latched onto them. As much as I hate to say it, Linkin Park is cringe. Alright, and the last offshoot of butt rock we have is military spouse who demands the respect of her husband's rank rock. This includes bands like Hinder, Saving Abel, Buckcherry, Theory of a Dead Man, Blue October, and, of course, Nickelback. Ignore the fact that every band I just listed is something that my mom listens to. That's neither here nor there. If I could describe all these bands in 2 words, it would be horny and cheating. Because everyone in the military or dating someone in the military is one, if not both of those things. I mean, hell, let's look at, Hinder's 3 biggest hits. Better Than Me, the singer talks about how he misses his ex and the sex. Get Stoned, a song about getting high and having angry sex with your partner while they're mad at you because you can't stand each other, but you stay together solely because the sex is good. And Lips of an Angel, a song literally about hooking up with your ex despite both of you being in new relationships. And that's perfectly shown with the chorus of Girl, You Make It Hard to Be Faithful with Lips of an Angel. Or Saving Abel, the one-hit wonder with the song Addicted that every white trash country girl fucking blares. A song about rough sex with a partner you can't stand. Let's look at Buckcherry and their song Next to You, a song about going above and beyond to try to hook up with a girl even though she's an obnoxious gold digger. To change it up some, their song Lit Up is about cocaine, and Sorry is about apologizing to an ex and admitting that you were a piece of shit in the wrong. Then you have their super big hit, Crazy Bitch, which is about a girl who the singer is well aware that she's toxic. Let's put it in that way, yeah, toxic. She asks for money, drugs, wants to record them doing the hibbity-dibbity, shingmana-bibbity, so that she can be in a viral sex tape and become famous. And Dude Man is well aware of this. He knows that she is, by and large, a massive, huge walking red flag. And he is the one calling her a crazy bitch, but doesn't care because the sex is fun. And so they're both pieces of shit, is what I'm trying to say. Fun fact, so the first concert I ever went to, big name band concert, was Papa Roach, Buckcherry, and Avenged Sevenfold. I got to see Avenged Sevenfold before their drummer, the Rev, died, which was really awesome. That was the first big concert I went to. My parents took me. They took me and my siblings. I was in 6th grade. 6th grade. And sure enough, Buckcherry came on because one of my mom's favorite bands. Of course it is. And they played Crazy Bitch because, you're a butt rock band and you play your biggest hit. And also, I just want to note, they were playing at a high school gymnasium. Nothing gets more butt rock than playing a sold-out show at a high school gym. But I digress. So Buckcherry they play Crazy Bitch, right? And they got jumbotrons up on the stage. On these jumbotrons are big-tittied anime waifus in maid outfits crawling around. And it was my introduction to hentai. Yeah, that is when I discovered what hentai was in 6th grade when my mom took me to see Buckcherry in concert. So that's a story that happened. Don't take your kids to see them live. Don't do it. But getting back on topic, you also have Theory of a Dead Man, who's basically America's knockoff Nickelback, and the epitome of toxic individual with such great songs like Bad Girlfriend, which I'm pretty sure is just the lead singer being aware that his girlfriend at the time was a party girl that cheats on him, but still stays. Hell, there's even lyrics talking about how she's going to be a future ex-wife, and it's just, my brother in Christ, if you already know that she's not going to last, then why are you still there? Just leave. You got their other classic, Bitch Came Back, another song about a toxic relationship, but this time it's a lot more degrading to the girl, constantly calling her stupid and cheating on her. You got their song I Hate My Life, which really anyone can get behind. It's mostly a song that talks about, how shitty life is, in a relatable way. But then there's also the line towards the end about accidentally hitting on underage girls, and so you kind of lost me there. And they're my personal favorite of their songs, Gentleman, a song where, the dude man goes on about how girls don't want a respectable, kind man who is a functioning member of society. They want a lying, cheating, gaslighting, manipulative piece of shit that just lays on the couch all day and does nothing. That's not true. Fellas, I cannot stress this enough to take this from personal experience. If you meet a girl who is like that, she wants the dude that just does nothing, is the piece of shit that gaslights and lays on the couch all day. Run. Just get out of there. sprint for the hills. Don't stay. In Theory of a Deadman is weird because they have all these songs that you could say are misogynistic and degrading to women, and just kind of putting down all of them and how horrible relationships are, and you should just be single. But then they have songs like All or Nothing, Angel, and Easy to Love You, which are genuine love songs that you could tell like some effort was put into. And most of the songs I'm naming, I'm literally pulling from 2 of their albums. So, like, which is it? Do you think that women are stupid, or do you actually care about her? And that's the other weird part, because it's like, because The Bitch Came Back and Easy to Love You are from the same album. So it's like, what? Yeah. Blue October is an anomaly with, military spouse mom rock, because their music is about addiction and overcoming addiction in like a good way. Like their music is actually considered therapeutic to a lot of people. So good for them. And as for Nickelback, like 95% of their music I haven't mentioned it's just horny. Like Chad Kroeger is a really horny guy. To name a few of their songs that go into that, you have Animals, Something in Your Mouth, and of course, Sex. Like they have a song that's just called Sex. So naturally, the questions you might have are, why was this music popular? Are any of these bands still relevant? And was there any innovation? As for the why were they popular, a lot of these bands came up in the post-grunge scene, like I mentioned earlier, from the late 90s. And a lot of it was super easy to consume. The music was, simple and enjoyable enough to, just kind of vibe with. It was fun and easy to sing along to. People don't like it to admit it, but a lot of these bands were singing about real issues that resonate with a lot of people. And this was kind of populist music, like they didn't care about, hoity-toity, like intellectual, highbrow people. They cared about the county fair crowd. They cared about people that, just the everyday guy. That's who they appealed to. And a lot of them also perfectly towed the line of too edgy for radio and too safe to be taken seriously, or, called out as industry plants. And I think that really helped a lot too. As for, are any of these bands still relevant? That's kind of subjective. Nickelback is, obviously they've been immortalized as a meme, so they don't really count in this conversation. If you call still making music relevant, then yes. Most of the bands I have mentioned or talked about have put out at least one album in the last 5 years. And most of them still go on tour. If that's still not enough for you, if you just go on TikTok and type in dad rock, you will find a whole subculture of people who are like me. Probably like you too. You grew up on it because it's what your parents listened to. You memed on it for a few years saying it was all bad and cringe and just terrible, mostly at Nickelback's expense. We were too mean to Nickelback. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. But then with time, you unironically started to like it because lyrically it started to relate to you, and you kind of started to understand why your parents liked it so much because it related to them too. As for the question of, was there innovation? Kind of. Well, a lot of these bands came out in the 90s. Most of them didn't really have their big success and, hit their stride and become the powerhouses we know them as now until the early to mid 2000s. Hell, I think about 75% of the big songs I've mentioned in this came out between 2002 and 2008. And I mean, bands like Hinder, Theory of a Deadman, and Blue October didn't become relevant until around 2006. And by that point, pop punk had made its comeback with bands like My Chemical Romance, Paramore, and Fall Out Boy. So most bands that were getting radio play, they either followed the Fall Out Boy formula if they wanted to reach a younger audience, or they did the Nickelback formula if they wanted to reach an older audience, but with very little innovation from both sides. So, and it's natural when something is popular, people want to jump in on it, they want to cash in on it, but it's also been stagnating. So you got to try to innovate a little bit to make yourself stand out. And so how do you innovate and improve on dad rock? Five Finger Death Punch. An attempt to appeal to the same demographic with innovation led to Five Finger Death Punch. And I promise I'm not going to go on a tirade about why I hate Five Finger Death Punch. Okay, so before anything, if you've never actually heard anything by Five Finger Death Punch, go listen to their first album, The Way of the Fist. Like, pause this video and just go listen to a few songs off that album. Because aside from a few lyrics just from like 1 or 2 songs not aging super well, overall it's not bad. I actually enjoy quite a few songs from this album because a lot of it is just loud, angry music for anyone and everyone. I mean, their songs cover things from being ostracized by society, not knowing your place in the world, being abused and abandoned by family, losing significant others to suicide, being in the box. And the album has at least one song for everyone that likes heavy music. And it resonated with people. Not to mention the instrumental proudly wears its inspiration of bands like Metallica and Slipknot on its sleeves, but it innovates and changes it up just enough to where it's a unique sound, and people liked it. Obviously, the album went gold in both the US and Canada. But you want to know who like really liked this album and it really resonated with? The military. Specifically guys in Iraq during the height of the war in 2007. And if it hasn't been clear yet, I spent 5 years in the Marine Corps, so I have a lot of like opinions and thoughts about the military culture. I can say whatever the fuck I want about it though, all right? I was there, so get off my dick. I don't know why or how, but this album really resonated with people in the military. Hell, my first introduction to this band was my dad coming home from Iraq in 2008 with a copy of The Way of the Fist, because it was constantly on repeat when they were on patrol in Iraq. Plus, he really liked it. All right, good for him. All the guys he deployed with really liked that album. Just about all of my friends who had a parent in the army at the time really liked that album. And that's why I hate them. The band knew, like, they very quickly found out that they were popular with the military. So they started doing shows on bases and USO shows overseas. Hell, if you look at the music video for their cover of Bad Company, it is literally just footage of them visiting soldiers in Iraq. And so when their second album, War is the Answer, came out, the album was a little less heavy. It was to try to be more radio friendly, to appeal to a broader audience, which is normal for bands that do heavier music. But it still had just a little bit of everyone. Except for the songs Bulletproof, No One Gets Left Behind, Burn It Down, Far From Home, Bad Company, and War is the Answer. Bear in mind, I just listed 6 of the 13 songs on this album. These 6 songs feel a little, how do I put it, pandering. This is the start of them pandering to their military audience. And it's like, these songs were designed to be put in deployment compilation videos that I talked about in Cringe, or to be put on like YouTube videos with like pictures of like homecoming stuff and depressing. And it's like they were manufactured for that. And instead of doing just the one album that was like that, they continued to do it. And they like continued to pander to like this demographic and this audience. And don't get me wrong, it's awesome that these guys have been using their voice to highlight issues like the astronomically high rate of veteran suicides. All right, it's great that they've been doing it to mention how dudes are coming home from war, they're getting out of the military, and they're mentally and physically scarred. They have trauma. And not only the government, but we as a society just kind of don't care and leave them to suffer. But they do it in the most condescending way. All right? They do it with music videos and interviews talking about how, like, we're all pieces of shit. And it's like, yeah, you see that homeless guy on the street that's spazzing out on meth right now? Yeah, well, guess what? He might have been in Vietnam. Show him some respect. Give him money. And it's like, no, dude, that's a fucking meth head, all right? And it's like, that's what all of it is it's condescending. It's disrespectful, and it's just annoying how, like, have your opinions, have your support. Like, I'm all for helping dudes that need help, right? I call the homies, I keep in touch with them, and I want my buddies to be here. But I don't shove it down people's throats, and I don't make it all of me. And that's what these guys did. They made that one part of their personality and their career the entire thing that they're known for. And I think the reason why I hate them the most is because their music is designed to appeal to that military audience. Like, they really shifted the gear to focus to it. Specifically combat arms dudes, like myself. I am the target demographic that they want to appeal to. I'm a 20-something-year-old white guy who served in a combat role in the military. I am who they pander to, and I hate them for it. These guys are the grunt style of rock. okay? That is what 5 Finger Death Punch is. And I know this because my opinion of them is the same as just about every dude I know who was in the military with me. We all see, like, grunt style, 5 Finger Death Punch. They are the same thing, okay? All right, and because this is the similar stance that everyone I know has, who do you think their music was popular with? Who do you think, like, listens to their music? All right, it's the administrative clerk who unironically thinks that he is the sheepdog that keeps the herd safe, all right, and says cringe shit like that. It's dudes that say dumb shit like, oh, I was going to join the army, but if a drill sergeant got in my face, I would have knocked him out, all right? Do you know who thinks that guy's cool? No one. The same people that think 5 Finger Death Punch is cool. Absolutely no one. And to make it worse, their pandering has spread to first responders. And because of this pandering, they've cultivated a fan base of dudes who enjoy Andrew Tate and do those stupid ass fucking like male, like masculinity boot camp bullshit weird things. And boomers who buy into QAnon and legitimately think Trump is the walking fucking dinosaur or some shit. It's all just some of the most obnoxious peoples who listens to 5 Finger Death Punch is what I'm trying to say. It's guys that wear Tap Out and Affliction and just like want to like think they're fucking hard because they drive a lifted Chevy fucking Silverado and ride my ass when I'm already going 10 miles over the speed limit. Just go around, you fucking twat. All right? And again, their first album is good, which is the most upsetting thing because it shows potential. It's loud and it's angry for everyone. And instead of keeping that, they chose to pander. And I fucking hate being pandered to. Okay, now that I've got that off my chest, the natural question may be for you, what was the impact of all this? Aside from being, the forefront of rock for the last 20 years, what was the result of this? What was inspired by this? And I think the best place to start is the initial, groups that were inspired by it in MySpace. If you don't know, before Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and the hellscape we know as social media today, you had MySpace. It was a social media platform that was designed to, you had your own little page with your friends. I remember you could have like a little hedgehog toy thing on it. Really, really neat place. You got to do web coding. You got to design your own page. And it was very music focused. By music focused, I mean you could assault your friends' ears by making the most obnoxious song just blare out as loud as possible whenever you went to their MySpace page. And a lot of bands got their start there. One of which was Hollywood Undead, who musically is very reminiscent of Limp Bizkit and has music that would fit into both the cringe and post-corn nu metal fields of dad rock, but aesthetically, they just kind of looked like a street gang version of Slipknot. And that's mostly just because of the masks. Then you had bands like Escape the Fate, which blended the look and sound of hair metal, dad rock party songs, which I didn't really touch on here, and post-hardcore into their own unique thing. After Ray Drake, I don't know, the guy that went to jail for killing a dude, left the band. They even had a song featuring the lead singer of Buckcherry, so I mean, it's weird how that works out. Who knew? And then I would say you didn't really have anything else that I could tell was very heavily inspired by this music until really the pop punk Midwest emo revival of the late 2010s with bands like Trash Boat, Movements, Story So Far, Hot Mulligan, Knuckle Puck, which, while musically these bands were all clearly inspired by groups like The Offspring, Blink-182, Fall Out Boy, Jimmy Eat World, and Brand New, lyrically, a lot of them kind of came back full circle to the post-grunge era of bands like Stained and Creed, but for a new generation, as they all have music that touches on substance abuse, heartbreak, childhood trauma, the box, becoming a better person and overcoming shortcomings. And then on the heavier side, you have bands like I Prevail and Beartooth, which talk about a lot of the same issues, but are obviously instrumentally more heavily inspired by the heavier bands like Breaking Benjamin, System of a Down, Coheed and Cambria in terms of, the instruments. But they all still touch on the same issues. And while, a lot of this is common in music, I think romance is the most commonly sung about thing in the world. These guys have kind of, come in and filled the void for the next generation of dad rock, as they match the vibe and emotion And, there's never going to be another Chad Kroeger, but there doesn't need to be, right? These bands are doing the same thing, appealing to the mass audiences with their relatability. And I would go as far as say that they're rebuilding the environment Nirvana laid the foundation for back in the early 90s by fostering that same welcoming environment and serving the purpose they need to serve for their generation, and talking on what they deal with an honest and digestible way that everyone can, get behind. And that's really it. I know it's kind of a weird way to end the video, but that's all I got for you. If you made it this far, why not subscribe or leave a like? Tell me what you thought, and what some of your favorite dad rock anthems are. Yeah. There will be a Spotify playlist created for this video to kind of coincide with it, called Dad's Problems Are Now My Problems. That's going to be linked below. It's going to be a little mix of dad rock with some modern pop punk and Midwest emo. Give that a listen. It'll be updated here and there when I find some other songs I want to throw into it. I'll take your guys' recommendations for it too. So recommend both that you think would fit into it. I made a Ko-Fi. That's a thing. So if y'all want to give me like $1, you can. I mean, literally just $1. I don't know what I'm gonna do with that aside from your name here. I don't really know what else to put there yet, but that money is gonna go and feed my Warhammer 40k addiction. So fair warning on that. So throw some ideas out there on what y'all want me to do with the money you give me, and how you want to be compensated for it. There's social media stuff as well, Twitter. Go give me a follow on that. I hope you're doing well, man. I love you, bud, and I'm proud of you, champ. Alrighty, bye bye.